Week 14 is in the books. Championship weekend is upon us. These are my final SEC power rankings of the 2024 college football regular season. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn notifications. Check us out via podcast, where we get your podcasts. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. The following is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com, use promo code SECU at sign up to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 or more lineup. That's prizepicks.com, promo code SECU to get your $50 bonus today. The regular season has come and gone as we look back on Week 14 and turn our attention to championship weekend in Atlanta. We're talking my SEC power rankings, the final ones of the 2024 regular season. As we pull up each and every single one of my selections, we will start at number 16. The Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky fans, the nightmare is finally over. I guess unless you're looking at the transfer portal and the way that the roster's essentially falling apart. But in regards to on-field disappointment, the 2024 season has mercifully come to an end. We all expected Kentucky to struggle against Louisville, have a long day, and boy, oh boy, did they ever. You talk about, guys, most disappointing teams in the SEC in 2024. Maybe Kentucky's not the first team that comes to mind, but I think when you look at the roster, the personnel, the expectations, guys, I thought this was going to be an 8-win football team. And instead, the team that beat Ole Miss and Oxford earlier in the year just never got back on the bus to go back to Lexington. Kentucky in the 16 spot. Again, what is the future under Mark Stoops? What does the trajectory of Kentucky football look like? A lot of uncomfortable questions being asked right now in Lexington. At number 15, I've got the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And yes, I've got State one spot ahead of Kentucky. If these two teams played right now, guys, I would go with Jeff Lebby and the Bulldogs. Obviously, a really disappointing season there in Starkville. 2-10 overall. You do not win a conference game. I thought put up a good fight against Ole Miss in Oxford on Black Friday, but, all in all, guys, for Jeff Lebby, we always knew it was going to be a disappointing or just a really, really tough year one. Now it's about building the roster up going into 2025. What are they going to do with the quarterback position? I know you have Michael Van Buren, but the rumors have already started with Jackson Arnold being in the portal. Got to go get some defensive personnel. And what's the future of Coleman Hutzler? Is he going to be back as your DC next year? So, again, lots of questions for them as well. But I still believe in Jeff Lebby long-term. Obviously, a really disappointing year one. At number 14, I've got the Oklahoma Sooners. Guys, Oklahoma, closing out their season the way I thought they would at LSU. The offense just continued to be the thing that haunted them all season long. That was the case in the game against LSU. I mean, that play they had, if you saw the highlight, the Bauer Sharp play, where it was like a trick play, tried to launch it down the field, that was a microcosm of the struggles of Oklahoma football this year. Just take one step forward to take two steps back. You do get to a bowl game in year one in the SEC, but there's going to be a lot of pressure on Brent Venables next year to really get this thing going. I'm thinking probably like 8 or more wins in year 2 in the conference going into year 4 of Brent Venables. Lots of pressure. Very up and down year. You had the big win over Bama, but a disappointing, I think, year 1 in the SEC for most Sooner fans out there. At number 13, I got the Arkansas Razorbacks. Guys, I don't know what it is. Arkansas just cannot beat Mizzou. Give Mizzou their credit, but Arkansas just cannot beat them. You lose to MIZ yet again. Sam Pittman, we know, is back in 2025. Arkansas football is in a really weird place, man. And I actually honestly feel for fans of the Hogs because it's like you're stuck in sports purgatory, right? You're not good enough to really win anything of significance or, be like a, nationally relevant, if you will, but you're not bad enough to, call for significant change. You're just kind of floating right at that 500 mark. And I don't really know what more the program is going to be under a Sam Pittman. I mean, again, we all like Sam Pittman, but when you have to start the conversation with that fact, that's not a good sign, right? So we're probably going to be having a lot of similar convos about Sam Pittman going into 2025. Disappointing into the season for Arkansas. And it just kind of felt like, guys, the same season Arkansas has had for most of Sam Pittman's tenure. Up and down, a fun team at times, a frustrating team at times, getting blown out at home and losing to Mizzou to close out the year. At number 12, guys, I got the Auburn Tigers. Auburn, with a chance against Alabama early, man, had some opportunities, just could not get it done. Again, sort of a microcosm and a summary of their season. You talk about coaches on the hot seat, man. Hugh Freeze has got to be right there at the top. I mean, you miss a bowl game in year 2. Before the season, most I saw were talking about you got to get to 8 wins to make that leap in year 2 that you want to see the program progress forward. It's going to be a long offseason down on the plains. Priority number 1, go find a quarterback. You got to find a quarterback that can get the football to those fantastic playmakers you have on the outside. The defense was really good this year. DJ Durkin and company, I thought, did a fantastic job, but it got overshadowed by how bad the offense was pretty much all throughout the season. So you had that bright spot end of year against Texas A&M, got that big win at home. But the bottom line is this: you go to Tuscaloosa, you lose again, a place you haven't won since 2010, and you go 5-7. So really, you could call it a catastrophic year, I think, on the plains. And Auburn goes back to the drawing board again. Hugh Freeze, I think, you could argue, has the hottest seat in the conference entering 2025. Guys, number 11, I've got the Vanderbilt Commodores. Guys, Vandy with a really valiant effort against Tennessee. Obviously, Tennessee pulls away. We'll talk more about them here in a little bit. I would still give Clark Lee the Coach of the Year honors. I really would. I know others have done really, really well at their stops, or done well at their schools, I should say. But what Clark Lee has done at Vanderbilt, you beat Alabama and Auburn in the same season. You get that team to a bowl game. I think you really have to stop and show appreciation for what Clark Lee and his staff did. And it's the way it looked too, right? Like this matchup against Tennessee, it wasn't like some years past where Tennessee just ran away with it and beat them by 50. Like, this was a really, really solid Vandy team. And, I think, again, obviously overexceeded all expectations, hit the over on the win total. Diego Pavia is trying to get another year of eligibility. We'll see if he can do it. But really like Clark Lee. Happy to see it again. He would be my vote for SEC Coach of the Year. Number 10, I've got the Missouri Tigers. Mizzou fans, you had picked a bone with me. You had an issue with me where I had you in the power rankings. I told you if Mizzou beat Arkansas, they'd move up. Sure enough, here they are at 10. I still say probably the most underwhelming 9-3 team in the conference. I mean, again, to think that a team is 9-3 and sitting in this 10 spot is crazy. But, it wasn't a bad year for Mizzou. I'm not going to say that. But certainly I think a disappointing year, and a year in which the SEC was sort of wide open. 10-2, 100% would have gotten you in the college football playoff, and you just couldn't do it. When you played the top-tier competition on your schedule, you lost every game. You lost to South Carolina, you lost to Alabama, and you lost to Texas A&M. And 2 of those 3 games, you got run off the field like you didn't even belong. So Mizzou at number 10, not a bad football team, obviously. I think a really solid year, guys. Like, when you think about it, and this isn't meant as a shot, but in the scope of Missouri football, like 9-3 is a pretty darn good year. You can win a 10th game in a bowl game. You can go back-to-back seasons with double-digit wins. The trajectory stays on a very positive one there in Como. Eli Drinkwitz, I think, a company doing a really, really good job. I thought Corey Batoon showed he was the right hire this season, that he was the right hire at defensive coordinator. Can they hold on to Kirby Moore? He's going to be a name probably floated out there for some different jobs. But if they can, you got to love where Mizzou is. And, again, a solid 9-3 season. I got them at number 10. Number 9, I've got the Texas A&M Aggies. They dropped down to 9 after losing to Texas. Only fall 1 spot. I mean, listen, here's the thing. Had a great time in Aggie land, had a great time in College Station. All the Aggies were fantastic. Here's what I would say. As disappointing as it is for Texas A&M fans, because it is, right? You look at it as like you had a 13-year start on Texas. They come into the league year 1, beat you in your house, and they're going to the SEC championship, something you never done. Here's the thing, though. You got to be realistic. Year 1 of Mike Elko. 8-4 is a really, really good year, I think, in year 1 of Mike Elko. This is why I preached in the preseason, hey, let's keep the expectations realistic. Let's not set unrealistic expectations for Mike Elko. If you can do that, right, 8-4 should not be looked at as falling short of expectation. I know the jokes are out there, Texas 8-4, 8-4 university. I get it. But guys, year one of a brand new head coach, changing a culture. There's still so many loose ends. I look at the situation and say it's only going to get better. I think A&M has the right guy. Again, I got to tour the facilities at A&M. They've got everything you need there to win at a high level and compete for championships. I think Elko's the right guy, man. You just got punched in the face by a Texas team that very well might win the SEC and might win a national championship. Like, that wasn't a bad team you lost to. So you got to keep that in mind. You got to keep that in perspective. But Texas A&M comes in at number 9 for me. And number 8, I've got the LSU Tigers. The Bayou Bengals close out their season with a win over Oklahoma, protecting the home field. You know, it's probably just a season of what could have been for LSU. You got cold at the absolute worst time. Garrett Nussmeier played some of his worst football at the absolute worst time, you know, with those games against A&M, Alabama, what have you. So, you know, Florida you look at as well. If you'd have beaten Florida, God, LSU's in that 9-3 college football playoff conversation. So, you know, it'll be big for Brian Kelly to go out in the portal and get some guys. What do you do at quarterback? You got to add some defensive personnel that can come in and help you immediately. But LSU at number 8, it's kind of what they were all year, just kind of floated middle of the pack. I mean, they were as volatile as any team in these power rankings. I mean, they dropped below 8. They were in the top 3 or 4 at one point. So LSU at number 8 kind of feels fitting for the season that they had. At number 7, I've got the Ole Miss Rebels, guys. Hottie Toddy takes down Mississippi State, but they dropped in these rankings for me. Really underwhelming in that final game. I mean, Mississippi State plus 26 or 27 or whatever the number was. It was the easiest play of the weekend because you felt like Ole Miss, they lost to Florida. Their season essentially was a wash at that point. They weren't going to come out inspired, fired up, wanting to beat Mississippi State by 50. You know, again, another season of just what could have been, guys. It was there for the taking. And I know Lane Kiffin is doing his best campaigning. We should be in the playoff. Look at our schedule. I have no sympathy for you. I really, really don't, man, because it was there for the taking, and you tripped right before you got to the finish line. That's on you. That's on you. In a game in which you were a double-digit point favorite, you fell short. So you have nobody to blame but yourself. You can blame the 12-team playoff. You can blame the committee. You can blame this, that. The only person you have to blame, Lane, is yourself. That's the harsh reality. And number 6, I've got the Florida Gators. Guys, I mean, shoot, one of the hottest teams in the SEC coming down the stretch. Florida playing like a top 25 team. They take down their arch rival Florida State, who was absolutely abysmal this year, 31-11 the final in that game. But guys, Florida going 7-5 with that schedule. I mean, we all agreed in the preseason that would have been a massive success for Billy Napier. Listen, next year there's still going to be a lot of pressure. Billy's still on the hot seat, essentially. But with DJ Lagway, the way they're recruiting, the momentum they've built, I like where Florida's at, man. I tell you, I like where Florida's at. I don't know if Billy's a long-term answer. I doubt it, honestly. I doubt he's the coach to take Florida to an SEC title or national title, but you got to give a lot of credit for what Napier and his staff did. Who knows? I mean, who knows? Maybe he's a guy that, you know, took him 4 or 5 years to get it going, or will take him that long to get it going. And once he does, there's no looking back. But either way, great finish of the season. I mean, a dream finish beating LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida State to get to 7 wins. Got a chance to get to 8 in a bowl game. And, of course, when you're led by a young guy like DJ Lagway, the excitement in Gainesville is at an all-time high. Number 5, guys, I've got the Alabama Crimson Tide. Took down Auburn over the weekend, death taxes, and Bama beating Auburn in Tuscaloosa. 4 turnovers in a game for the Crimson Tide. Jalen Milroe is a turnover machine at times. You find a way to win. I mean, guys, again, Bama's just been so up and down, so volatile. But they do sit right now in prime position, essentially right now in the college football playoff. Bama fans pulling hard for SMU this weekend to beat Clemson in the ACC title, because essentially if Clemson wins, SMU could slide down, could bump Bama out. We'll see what the committee will do. But either way, Alabama finds themselves in the college football playoff, a 9-3 season, year one of Kalen DeBoer. I know certainly some mixed feelings. You know, that loss to Oklahoma, I think, still stings in the way that it happened, especially. But, you know, give Bama credit for taking down their arch rival. And now all you can do if you're a fan of the Crimson Tide is just wait and see what your fate will be on Sunday. At number 4, guys, I've got the Tennessee Volunteers. This is a team that doesn't have to worry about their college football playoff fate because Tennessee is 10-2. And for the most part this season had the one hiccup at Arkansas, but took care of their business. Give them credit. Again, the win over Vanderbilt, that's not your typical Vanderbilt. Went in there, beat Diego Pavia. By the way, went down 14-0 and was down 17-7 and still found a way to come back and win that football game in Nashville. Tennessee is really interesting because they've got the run game. They've got the defense. If they can get the best version of Nico and you get the right matchups, this is a Tennessee team that can absolutely make some noise in the playoffs. So Tennessee football, though, I would say, honestly, guys, year 4, Josh Heupel, a college football playoff appearance, you can't be upset about that if you're a fan of the Vols. At number 3, I've got the South Carolina Gamecocks. Now, South Carolina fans, they are upset. And I will say this, and I will echo what I said on social media a few days ago. Guys, in regards to if I had my own 12-team playoff, which mine would be different, we wouldn't have auto bids. But if I had my own 12-team playoff, can I sit here and honestly say South Carolina is playing like one of the best 12 teams in the country, and there aren't 12 more teams than them that deserve a shot more than South Carolina? I can say that. I can honestly sit here and say that. At the same time, anyone who thought the committee was going to put South Carolina in over a Bama and or Ole Miss that they lost to head-to-head is taking crazy pills. I mean, really, truly, man. There was one spot left, and there was just no way that this committee was ever going to put South Carolina in over a Bama or Ole Miss they lost to head-to-head. When all the things are equal, they're going to lean on head-to-head. You know why? Because it's much easier to explain head-to-head than it is go out there and put South Carolina in and explain to a national viewing audience, well, we put them in because hypothetically the referees and hypothetically if the quarterback doesn't go out in the second half and maybe this happens. You're playing too many hypothetical games, the what-if game. I know South Carolina fans are still upset with Jason Autry, the referee in the freaking LSU game, but at the end of the day, man, that's just the reality. It's unfortunate. Listen, Gamecocks had a great season. Huge win at Clemson. Huge win at Clemson. Not making the playoffs should take nothing away from the season Shane Beamer and company had. But at the end of the day, man, when it came to the playoff, I wasn't surprised by what I saw. And again, if it was my 12-team playoff, I might have Bama and South Carolina in. I might have Ole Miss and South Carolina in. I wouldn't just have South Carolina in. I would have them in. But in the current climate, the current playoff, what happened is exactly what I expected. So anyways, 9-3 for the Gamecocks, hottest team in the country, 6 straight wins, huge win at Clemson, a lot to be excited about, especially with Lenora Sellers at quarterback moving into the future. At number 2, I've got the Georgia Bulldogs. Whew, you talk about surviving a scare. Georgia 8 overtimes against their rival Georgia Tech. I mean, listen, man, you can look at it one of two ways. You can be concerned about Georgia and be like, man, they're not really good. Or you can look at it and say they just find a way to win. Even when they don't have their best, they're not playing their best, whatever, they find a way to win. And that's typically the side I lean, guys, because this weekend's SEC championship against Texas, for a fact Georgia is going to show up. They're going to play great football. And, people that don't know any better are going to be sitting around saying like, man, this is just, where is this Georgia team been? It's like they were always there. It is just weird, though, the way it's almost like Georgia has gotten bored at times with their competition. They've been so playing to the level of competition all season. So Georgia, listen, they survive, should be in the college football playoff. I think will be in the college football playoff no matter what happens in the SEC title, sitting at 10-2, going in this game. But Kirby Smart and company and Georgia fans going to be fired up for this one on Saturday in Atlanta because they will be taking on number 1 in my power rankings, the Texas Longhorns. Hook 'em, who got the big win in College Station at Kyle Field over their hated rivals in the Lone Star Showdown, Texas A&M. 13 years in the making, guys. Texas's defense, and of course, we were on hand to witness this one firsthand. That defense is elite. I mean, it was dominant. It set the tone in the ball game early, and it dominated the entire game. I thought Texas offensively committing to the running game, using Trey Wisner, was a welcome sight to see. 33 carries for Wisner in that football game. I thought Quinn Ewers was efficient. I love the way Sarkisian used Arch Manning in the red zone. We'll see if we see more of that. And, of course, we've got these top two in my power rankings, 1 and 2, going at it. Texas looking for their first ever SEC championship in their first season in the SEC. And, of course, Georgia, a familiar sight in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz. They'll be looking for another SEC title under Kirby Smart. So, guys, what do you think? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? How would you power rank the teams of the SEC entering championship weekend? Guys, that's going to do all for me. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Again, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. Until next time, guys, I'm Chris Phillips of SEC Unfiltered. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in, and we will catch you on the other side.